Hey folks, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about the upcoming presidential election. How do we know that our electoral system will work properly and the results will actually reflect the will of the people?
I think that's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think it's one a lot of people have. I know that I'm not feeling too concerned about it. Since the last election, Congress has actually updated our federal election laws that are going to ensure that this election runs a lot more smoothly than the last one. To take us back a little bit, the old law, the Electoral Count Act, that's the one that really set up the framework for how votes were casted and counted in Congress for presidential elections.
Right. But the Electoral Count Act, kind of like this Jenga board, had a lot of ambiguities and gaps and imprecise language,
Right.
which was then exploited by former President Donald Trump and his allies. And all of that culminated in the disastrous January 6th attack on our country.
Right. Good news, in 2022, remember that old law?
Yeah.
Congress updated that and passed the Electoral Count Reform Act.
Okay.
So what the Electoral Count Reform Act is really going to do is ensure that we're plugging up some of those gaps and ambiguities in the system. It's going to ensure that really there's no opportunities for bad actors to undermine the system along the way.
I think I'm picking up on the metaphor here. So basically, for example, right, the vice president following the 2020 election was pressured to stop the vote counting process in Congress. Now, the Electoral Count Reform Act, this new law, actually reinforces the fact that that's just not the case, that the vice president is really mostly in a ministerial role and can't actually stop the vote counting process, right?
Yes. And also, you know that I work in the states, right?
Yep.
One of the major issues is disputes over who won an election.
Right.
So one of the things that the ECRA is going to do is ensure that any of those disputes are solved before those votes even get to Congress, which means that there's a lot less opportunity for chaos in those final stages of vote counting. And so I think really all of these things combined, at least to me, gives me a lot of confidence that whatever the election results turn out to be, they are going to be reflective of the will of the American people.
It was a good question. Thanks for asking.